Unlike realism, in which everything is consistently logical, absurdism is consistently nonsensical, leading to a different impact on the audience in that the numerous interpretations of the zoo story reveal the irrational nature of people's own lives. In Albie's play, every element of the story is designed to incite confusion in the audience. This is achieved by the multiple meanings the play could have, one of which being formed in the erratic nature of Jerry's interrogative dialogue with Peter. When Jerry asks Peter out of the blue, "You're not going to have any more kids, are you?" The personal pry at Peter through the tag question, "Are you?" makes it appear as though Jerry has some kind of omniscient knowledge of Peter's life, calling into question Jerry's own character and what his intentions are with Peter. Peter understandably interprets Jerry's advances negatively, telling him that's none of your business. The short exclamative, simple sentence already establishing Peter's close-mindedness. This becomes significant later in the play when we're given more information about Jerry's random instigation that opens the play of "I've been to the zoo." It would appear that the zoo Jerry refers to is more than just a physical zoo in New York's Central Park, but is a potential metaphor for the entrapped life that Peter lives, controlled by what others make of him. And the purpose of Jerry's interaction with Peter is to expose his monotonous life, hence the multitude of interrogatives to establish the conventional life Peter leads, and break the cycle of restraint that Peter has unknowingly conformed to his whole existence up until this day, by introducing both confusion and chaos. Unfortunately, Peter is unable to make this same connection with what Jerry is trying to convey to him, and so Jerry is forced to resort to his final plan to break Peter's cycle for good. Jerry slowly encroaches further and further on Peter's bench, the stage directions implying the rise in tension through the progression of Peter's mental distress from friendly to annoyed, and from very annoyed to flabbergasted, as Jerry pokes and punches Peter. When Peter's anger comes to a precipice, he stabs Jerry with the knife that Jerry himself tosses to him. One of his final lines to Peter is, "It's alright, you're an animal." This line once again refers and affirms the metaphor of the zoo that Peter is a part of, his caged view of the world that Jerry has in his death released him from. As Martin Esslin states in his paper on absurdism, the theatre of the absurd shows the world as an incomprehensible place. And so while the initial meaning of the play discussed could make sense, it is clouded by unexplainable lines of narrative that would suggest other meanings. One instance of this would be the hatred Jerry has for his landlady, describing her as a fat, ugly, mean, stupid, unwashed, misanthropic, cheap, drunken bag of garbage. This extensive list of extremely negatively connotated adjectives, combined with the metaphoric bag of garbage he compares her to, could suggest a homosexual reading of the play. This is further supported by the knowledge Jerry possesses that "You won't find a policeman around here, they're all over the west side of the park chasing fairies." Fairies being a derogative, idiomatic metaphor for gay people at the time. Jerry also calls into question Peter's masculinity throughout the play, demanding him to fight for your manhood. This imperative also implies that Jerry, Peter, or both men may be withholding some repressed homosexual desires. Their mere presence in a quiet part of Central Park alone as two men, at a time when gay people would frequent that same location to engage in sexual acts with other gay men, invites the possibility that at least one of them is not disclosing their true reason for being out there. Therefore, it's plausible that the meaning of the play's nonsensical and violent plot could be an analogy for the oppression and anger felt in the gay community in the 1950s of America, when being gay was considered a crime. There is only one setting in the zoo story, and it is populated sparsely with only 2 park benches. The deliberate absence of props and large objects to populate the space allows for the audience to be solely concerned with the characters at hand rather than their surroundings. The stage direction lists only 3 things making up the backdrop of the play: foliage, trees, sky. This short, abrupt tricolon too emphasizes that the point of the setting is to be as simplistic as possible to enable people watching to use their initiative in forming what they imagine the scene to be. The 2018 New York theatre production of the zoo story supports this idea, going even further by abstracting all background details to nothing but a white wall with faint patterns of black lines rising up from the floor. These aid in the inevitably distinctive takeaways that each audience member will conclude with at the end of the play. Edward Albee's story was written in the aftermath of the Great Depression that left America both economically and socially divided. Perhaps inspired by this, one of the topics that Albee addresses is the idea that some relationships inevitably fail to find meaning, and the monologue told by Jerry about the landlady's dog is a direct analogy for this. after stating how Jerry attempted to kill the dog, and afterwards failed to form any kind of bond with it, he says to Peter, "I had tried love and I had tried to kill, and both had been unsuccessful by themselves." This narrative can be read as a metaphor for the actions that take place between Jerry and Peter themselves, as Jerry tries to initiate communication with Peter throughout, only to be met with sighs, displeasure, and antagonism. The ultimate end to this failure of love is for Peter to kill Jerry, as he does in the finale of the play. Ironically, it is Peter's inability to listen and understand Jerry that is the causation of the predicament he is left in after taking Jerry's life. Jerry even directly addresses Peter to plead for him to come to some realization, saying, "You've missed the $8,000 question, Peter," appealing to a metaphorical monetary reward of $8,000 that would have held importance in an era of minimum wealth. It is clear that Jerry is attempting in vain to breach into a more close grip of Peter's life, to change the way he sees and values his own freedoms. Jerry discloses a level of self-awareness in his pursuits for a bond with another person, and this is reinforced by the last line Jerry discusses, stating that if you can't deal with people, you have to make a start somewhere, with animals. This sentence implies that the dog was a kind of practice for his interaction with Peter, foreshadowing the violence to ensue later in the production. The plural emphasized noun, animals, is a callback to the recurring metaphor in the play that all people who engage in the same cyclic lifestyle that society pushes them towards is a caged animal, like you would find in a zoo. This metaphor supports the presentation of miscommunication between Jerry and Peter, as it positions Peter as othered, someone who cannot understand the way Jerry conveys himself, just as a dog cannot comprehend human behavior. The stage directions aim to ensure that Peter's confusion is apparent to the audience, noting that the actor sets to thinking and is later hypnotized by what Jerry tells him. The verb hypnotized is used to exemplify how Peter is completely caught up in contemplation in this scene, struggling to grasp the deeper significance of Jerry's recollection. It is this unbreakable divide that highlights the impact of the Great Depression on the working people living in America. It stresses the importance of re-establishing human connections that were broken through the financial strains and pressures.